Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Zayin Amud Beis 7b of Maseches Brachos. We are starting from the top of the page. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Miyom shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu es ha'olam, from the day that Hashem created the world, Lo haya Adam shekara LaKadosh Baruch Hu Adam, no one had ever called HaKadosh Baruch Hu, had never called Hashem Adam, master, Ad sheba Avraham vikaro Adam, until Avram came along and called him Adam, master. Shenemar, as it says, Vayomar, it says that Avraham said, Ado Shem Elokim, Bama Edaki Rashana, Hashem Elokim, how will I know that I'll inherit the land? But he used the word, and the way it's spelled in Torah is Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Ado Shem. Up till now we have, it's always Yud Kei Vav Kei. And although we nowadays pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei as Ado Shem, but it's not what it's spelled. And it says here that nobody had called Hashem that before. Yud Kei Vav Kei connotes many things, but among them Ha-Yehovah V'Iyah, the eternal nature of Hashem. It speaks more of Hashem's existence. The name Ado and Nai, Hashem, means my master. And so Avram, by calling Hashem by that name, was acknowledging either, Rav Schwab says, a personal relationship with Hashem, my master, my personal master, someone I have a personal relationship with, or the Maharsha here says that Hashem is master of all forces in the world. And the Maharsha uses that to explain the next lines of the Gemara. So Avram was the first to say that, to call Hashem by the name of Adonus, the name that refers to Hashem as a master. And then the Gemara says, Amar Rav. Rav says, Af Daniel lo nena el b'shvil Avram. Daniel, his prayers were answered because of Avram. Because what does Daniel daven? Didn't look it up. I'm guessing this is when Daniel is thrown in with the lions. What is it that saves Daniel's life? He davens says, Ve'ata shma Elokeinu al tfilas abdecha. Now listen, our God, to the prayers of your servant. Ve'al tachanunav, and to his supplications. Ve'ha'er panecha al mikdashcha hashamim, and shine your countenance on your destroyed mikdash, your destroyed temple. Lemang Ado Shem, for the sake of Ado and Nai, and that's the name he uses. Now he's talking to Hashem, right? He says, he's talking in the second person. He's speaking directly. I mean, originally he says, Shema Elokeinu. Elokeinu is not second person, but he says, to the tefillah of your servant, and to his tachanunim, and his supplications, and shine your countenance on your mikdash. So he should say, for your sake, lemancha. But says the Gemara, lemancha mibayileh. He should have said, for your sake. So what does he mean, leman Ado Shem? Why does he say, for the sake of Ado and Nai? Explains the Gemara, El leman Avram shekaracha Adam. He was saying for the sake of Avram, who called you Adam, who called you master, and so this was his way of referencing. This was his way of referencing that it should be in the merit of Avraham. Just one moment. Here we go. So this pasuk is in Daniel, Perek Tes, chapter 9, and okay, actually, this is not in particular when Daniel is thrown with lions. It's just in general, he's davening for redemption for the Jewish people during exile, and he davens for redemption. He has a long, long tefillah here, and here he uses this name he uses this term, and it seems to be that he's asking that it should be in the sake of Avram. Now, what does that have to do with his tefillah? Why would he be answered for davening for the sake of Avram? I think the simple understanding is in the merit of Avram, Zechus Avos, the merit of the forefathers. The Maharsha, though, says, based on his explanation of what was unique about Avram saying Lamar Adoshem, what is unique about this name? So the Maharsha says that this name, as I mentioned before, connotes Adnuso v'Yecholto, Hashem's mastery of the world and his omnipotence to alter reality, to alter Gezeros, decrees, and he says that's why Daniel referenced this, because I think what he means is in the context of asking for salvation, he's saying, Hashem, you are all capable, you're Adam, you're master, and in that sense, it's you can bring about our salvation, you can remove the decree against the Jewish people of exile and bring us back, and that's what he's davening for. Not his own salvation, but the salvation of the Jewish people as a whole. Okay. Ve'amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rishon ben Yochai. Another statement of Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rishon ben Yochai. Minayin she'em meratzin lo adam b'shas kasos. This is a repeat of what we had on the previous Amud. There it was Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yossi. And now we have the same thing in the name of Rishon bar Yochai. In the Gemara Oz V'Hadar, they quote from the Tzlach. The Tzlach says that Rabbi Yochanan heard it from both of them. And so, when it was quoting Rabbi Yochanan's statements in the name of Rabbi Yossi, it mentioned it. And when it quotes the statements of Rabbi Yochanan saying in the name of Rishon bar Yochai, which is what we're doing now, it mentions it again, even though it's the same thing. So it says, Minayin she'em meratzin lo adam b'shas kasa. How do we know that you don't try to appease someone while they're in their fits of anger? Shenemar, as it says, Panay Elichu v'anichosi lach. Hashem says to Moshe after the golden calf, he says, Panay Elichu, like, let my face go, wait for my anger to abate, v'anichosi lach, and then I'll let you, I'll be nicha, I'll be kind, I'll be relenting to you. Ve'amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rishon ben Yochai. Another thing Rabbi Yochanan saying in the name of Rishon ben Yochai, Miyom sheba HaKadosh Baruch Hu Salamo, from the day that Hashem created the world, nobody gave thanks to Hashem at Shebasa Leah v'Hodaso, until Leah came and gave thanks. Shenemar, as it says, Hapam Oda es Hashem. This time I will give thanks to Hashem. When Leah has her son Yehuda, so she names him Yehuda because she says, Hapam Oda es Hashem. This time I will give thanks to Hashem. Rashi says that she was extra thankful here because she had seen with Ruach HaKodesh, with divine inspiration, that Yaakov was going to have 12 sons. And Yaakov had 4 wives, which means that each wife would have 3 sons, seemingly. But Leah had 4. She ended up having 6, but this was her 4th. So she saw that she was getting more than what she was, so to speak, destined to have, deserving of. So that's why she gave extra thanks over here. Now the Mefarshim are bothered because, what do you mean Leah was the first to give thanks? We have other references, certainly in Midrashim, that people that preceded her gave thanks. Can you imagine that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov never gave thanks, so Leah is the first. So there, I think, are many different answers. One answer is Leah was the first to give thanks for something natural. Childbirth seems natural. It's not. We understand it within the laws of nature. So yes, certainly those that preceded her had given thanks to Hashem for supernatural occurrences. Leah was the first to give thanks for something natural. That's just one answer. Okay. Reuven. Now once we're explaining names, because we mentioned Yehuda, so we start with Rabbi Yochanan quoting Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. We're naming off we're listing off things that he said, so we mentioned this teaching about the name of Yehuda. Once we mention the name of Yehuda, let's talk about Reuven's name. Reuven. Why was Reuven called Reuven? Amr Belazar says, Amra Leah. Leah said, and again, the pasuk actually says, Kira, that she called him Reuven, because she said, Kira Hashem ba'ani, ki ata yevani ishi. Hashem saw my affliction, and now my husband will love me. Reuven was her first son. That this will bring her husband to love her. The Gemara says that there was more here. Amar Rebbe Lazar says, Amar Leah. Leah was saying, Ru'u ma ben beni ben chami. Ru'u veng means see my son. See the difference between my son and the son of my father-in-law. Who is the son of her father-in-law? Well, her husband is one of the sons of her father-in-law, Yaakov, but she's referring to Esav, the other son of her father-in-law, her husband's brother. Look at the difference between my son and the son of my father-in-law. De'ilu ben chami, the son of my father-in-law, meaning Esav, afagav dimi daite zavne lebechiruse, even though he sold his bechor rights, his firstborn rights, he sold them midaite on his own, willingly. Dirchsev, as it says, vayim kares bechor asal Yaakov. It says he sold his bechor, his firstborn rights to Yaakov. But chazum aksibe, but see what it says about him. It says vayistom Esav es Yaakov, and Esav harbored hate towards Yaakov. Uksiv, and it says vayomer, that Esav said, hachi karash mo Yaakov, his name is Yaakov v'akveni zeh pamayim. He tricked me twice to get the bechor from me, and then to get the brachos from me. So even though Esav knowingly sold the firstborn rights to Yaakov, he still hates Yaakov for it, and he accuses Yaakov of tricking him. Says Leah, that's the son of my father-in-law, that's Esav. Ve'ilu b'ni, but my son, afagav dal karche shakle Yosef lebechiruse, mine, even though Yosef took the bechor from Reuven against Reuven's will, it wasn't Reuven's choice. Dichsiv, as it says in Divrei Hayamim, it says, because Reuven switched up the bed of his father, Nasna b'charaso livnei Yosef. His firstborn rights were given to Yosef. So it's a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, because this is the episode with Bilhah, the Pilegesh, the concubine of his father, where he switched her bed. Meaning after Rachel died, Yaakov was going to lie with Bilhah, and Reuven thought that he should be with his mother Leah, so he switched the beds. And as a result of that, he lost the bechor. That's what the pasuk says in Divrei Hayamim. But even still, Reuven was not jealous and vengeful against Yosef. In fact, the Chsivit says, "Vayishma Reuven vayatzilim yadam," that when Reuven heard what the brothers wanted to do to Yosef, they wanted to kill him, he saved him. He's the one who saved Yosef from being killed by the brothers. So she said, Reuven, look at the difference. Now this is prophetic. This is seemingly, I think I saw in the Marashah, somebody says that we don't list Leah as one of the prophetesses, so this may be, she's naming him, she may not know why, but the Gemara is saying this is the Ruach HaKodesh that went into her, whether she understood why she's calling him Reuven, but this is the divine inspiration of calling him Reuven, was to say, Reuven, look at this son as compared to the son of my father-in-law, as opposed to Esav. Okay, Rus, once we're talking about names, let's talk about the name Rus. My Rus, what's the name Rus? What is that meant to imply? And the thrust of this Gemara is that names have meaning, that there's a divine inspiration given to parents when they give their child their name, which will have some association with what that child becomes, or what becomes of them. So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the reason why she was called Rus is Shezachsav Yatzmena David, because David came from her. She'riveyu l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'shiros v'sishbachos. This word riveyu, which is what it's connecting to Rus, so in the Safari they translate it as inundated. I think it relates to, maybe there's a word for like watering, which maybe is similar. Spreading. So he inundated HaKadosh Baruch Hu with shiros v'sishbachos. That's what David did. David, the descendant of Rus, gave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu songs and praise, and that's why she was called Rus, because of her descendant David. Now ask the Gemara, Minalan Dishma Garim. How do we know that a name makes a difference in the first place? That a name impacts what the person will become. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, de Amar Kra, because the pasuk says, in Tehillim it says, L'chu chazu mifalos Hashem, go see the deeds of Hashem, Asher sam shamos ba'aretz, who has placed destruction or desolation on the land. That's what the pasuk says in Tehillim. Go see the deeds of Hashem, who has placed destruction on the land, or desolation on the land. So the Gemara is bothered because that's not much of a praise of Hashem that he places desolation. So therefore the Gemara darshans, this is how the Maharsha explains it, Al tikri shamos ela shemos. You should read it not as shamos, but shemos. Go see the deeds of Hashem, who has placed names on the land. That every name is God-given in the sense it is divinely inspired, and I assume we connect it back to the beginning of the pasuk, that to the mifalos Hashem, the deeds of Hashem. Go see the deeds of Hashem, meaning maybe that it's going to affect the person's deeds. That I'm not sure about. But it's telling you that names, it's darshing, it's learning out that names are divinely inspired. Another thing that Rabbi Yochanan said named Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, it's even more difficult for a person to experience tarbus ra, rebelliousness, from their children in their house. It's even worse than the war of Gog and Magog. It's even more painful. Shenemar, as it says, Mizmor LeDavid b'varchom v'nei Avshalom beno. So chapter 3 of Tehillim is a Mizmor of David when he ran away from Avshalom, his son. So, and what does it say there? So Avshalom rebelled against David. And Uksiv Basrei, it says there, Hashem marabu tzarai. David says, how great are my sufferings, Rabim kamim alai. Many rise up against me. So that's what it says with regards to his son rebelling against him. Ve'ilu gabi melchemes Gog and Magog, but with regards to the war of Gog and Magog, which is referenced in chapter 2 of Tehillim, in the previous chapter, Ksiv, it says, Lama rigshu goyim u'u'umim yagurik. He says he sees the nations gathering, he sees the prophecy of the nations gathering in war, and he says, why do the nations gather? Why do they make noise? And they talk in vain. So, but he doesn't, V'ilu ma'rabu tzarai lo ksiv. He doesn't say, oh, this is, how great is my pain over this. Doesn't seem to be so painful. He inquires, why? Why are they gathering? Why are they making a tumult? But he doesn't seem to think that it's difficult or painful. So you see, even more painful, when it comes to his son rebelling, he says, how great is my suffering? Many rise against me. But when it comes to the nations getting up against us for the war of Gog and Magog, there it's much more inquisitive, but not doesn't declare that this is a terrible suffering, terrible tzara. So you see that a child that rebels is more difficult than the war of Gog and Magog. Now we elaborate on this chapter 3 of Tehillim, where it says, Mizmor LeDavid b'archom mipnei Avshalom beno, a song unto David when he ran away from his son Avshalom. Ask the Gemara, Mizmor LeDavid? A song unto David? He's singing as he's running away from his, he's singing about running away from his son who's rebelling against him? Kina LeDavid b'ayol. He should have said a lamentation, a dirge. It's a sad song, not a Mizmor. So Amar B'Shem ben Avishalom, so Rabbi Shimon Avishalom says, Mashal Amad Averdom. I'll give you a mashal, I'll give you an analogy to understand what's happening here. Like a person who he owes money. So kodem shefaro haya atzav. Before he pays it, he's sad. Doesn't know maybe where he's going to get the money from. Doesn't have the money. But once he finds a way to pay it back, samach, he's happy. It's paid back. It's done. Afkan David. So the same thing with David. Kevan she'amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had previously told David, Hineni mekim alecha ra mi beisecha. So I believe this is after the episode with Bathsheba. Hashem tells him through his Navi that there's going to be evil that befalls you from your house. So Hayatzav, David was very upset. He's very nervous. Amar, he said, Shema eved o mamzerhu delo chayis alai. Maybe the household member that rises against me will be a slave. Won't be one of his children, or it'll be a mamzer child. I don't know why a mamzer, or maybe it doesn't mean his child. I don't know why we have a mamzer in his house. But maybe it will be someone who's not going to have any mercy on me. But when he saw when he saw that it was his son Avshalom who rose up against him, Samach, he rejoiced. Mizmor LeDavid, he's saying a Mizmor because I'm running away from my son at least. At least he'll have mercy. Mishum Hachiyam or Mizmor. That's why he said a Mizmor. At least he thought that Avshalom would have mercy. We don't know in the end what would have happened. I mean, Avshalom did try to fight him, he definitely overthrew him for a time. Kicked him out of Yerushalayim, sent him running, but it's not clear that he actually would have had mercy. But the Maharshal says at least David thought that it's my son, he'll have mercy on me. So and at least it's better than the alternative. He knew Hashem had promised there would be Ra'ah mi beiso, some kind of evil that rises from his house. It could have been much worse than having his son. So when he found out it was his son, he rejoiced. Amar Mizmar, he's saying a song. And now just back to the previous point, just one thing. We also said it's sad and suffering, but that was, I think, the idea of that his son was rebelling. The idea that his son is rebelling is sad. The idea that it's his son and not somebody else is good, because at least he thinks that he'll have more mercy. And Rabbi Yochanan saying it's permitted to fight against the wicked in this world. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Ozvei Torah Yahalu Rasha. Those who abandon Torah, they will praise wickedness. Yahalu Rasha, they'll praise a wicked person. Vishomrei Torah Yiskarubam, and those who guard the Torah will fight them, should fight them. So you see, you're allowed to fight against Rishayim. It says, fight them. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have another brisa that expresses this. Meaning here, it's a quote, a tradition from Rishon ben Yochai. We have a brisa too. Rabbi Dostai Reb Mason Omer. Rabbi Dostai, the son of Reb Mason, says, Mutter leiskaris b'rishayim al mazeh. It's permitted to fight against the wicked in this world. Shenemar, as it says, and it quotes the same pasuk, Oz v'Torah Yahal Rasha, and so on. Those who abandon Torah will praise Rasha, will praise the wicked, but those who keep the Torah will fight against them. It says the Gemara, now if somebody tries to whisper to you and say, no, don't fight the Rishayim. V'aksiv, it says, it's a pasuk in Tehillim, al tischar b'merayim, al tekane b'osei avol, which you might understand to mean, don't fight those who are evil, don't be zealous against those who do avol, those who do averus, those who sin. So you might say that, don't fight the Rishayim. So Amorlo, I think this is still the brisa continuing, Rabbi Dostai, say to such a person who says that, Mishalibo Nokva Omer King, that's somebody who's afraid who's saying that. Rashi is afraid of their own averus. They think that they don't have the merit to overcome a Rasha. That's why they're saying it. That's not what the pasuk's saying though. It doesn't mean don't fight against the wicked. Al tischar means don't be like them. Don't be like the wicked. It means doesn't mean don't be zealous against them. It means don't be jealous against them. Liyosko se'avo, to be like them. Don't try to be like them, those who sin. Ve'omer, and we can back this up from a pasuk in Mishlei, which says, Al yikane bachatayim ki'im beyiras Hashem kol hayom. Don't yikane your heart should not be mekane sins, rather yiras Hashem. Now if it means don't be zealous, that doesn't make sense. Don't be zealous of sin, against sins, but be zealous against those who fear Hashem, that doesn't make sense. So rather, in that context, it clearly means jealous. Don't be jealous of those who sin, rather of those who have fear of Hashem. And so too in the first pasuk, al tikane bosei avla, means don't be jealous of those who sin, don't try to be like them. Ask the Gemara, Eini, is it true that you can fight Rishayim v'ha'amar Rabbi Yitzchak? Rabbi Yitzchak said, Im ra'isa rasha shasham misachekes lo. If you see a Rasha that things are going good for him, al tisgarebo, don't fight him. Shenemar, as the pasuk says in Tehillim, it says, Yachilu deracha b'chol eis. David HaMelech wonders, he sees the wicked prosper. Yachilu deracha b'chol eis, his ways are successful at all times. V'lo od, and not only that, el shezocha b'din, he merits in judgment. The same pasuk continues, Shnemar, Mara mishpatecha minegdo. Your mishpat, your justice is far removed from him. He doesn't get judged for his evil actions. V'lo od el sheroa b'tzarav. But not only that, but he dismisses his enemies. Shnemar kol tzarav yafiach b'hem. His enemies, he just blows on them, blows them down. So it sounds like, don't, watch out for these Rishayim. So which one is it? Do you fight them, or do you have to be careful, watch out for them? Says the Gemara, lo kashya, it's not a contradiction. Habamili didei, habamili dishmaya. One is talking about your own matters, and one is talking about heavenly matters. If it comes to your own matters, don't fight them. Don't get involved with them. Don't try to if it's a personal thing, steer clear. But if you're defending the matters of heaven, so then you should fight the Rasha over matters of heaven. Or you can say a different way to reconcile the contradiction. Maybe it's both talking about matters of heaven. The lokash, it's not a contradiction. When we say don't fight a Rasha whose things are going good for him, that's when things are going good for him. When we say you can fight a Rasha, that's when things are not going good for him. So that's the distinction. A Rasha who has things going well for him, don't fight him even about matters of heavenly matters. But if it's not obviously going well for him, then you can fight him. Or you can answer maybe it's both talking about a Rasha who things are going well for him. And still not a contradiction. It depends who you are. If you're a tzaddik gamor, if you're completely righteous, you can take him on even when the Rasha's things are going well. But if you're not a tzaddik gamor, you're not a completely righteous person, so then you should steer clear. De Amar Rav Huna, because Rav Huna said, "My dechsiv." What does it mean in the pasuk? In Tehillim it says, "Lama tabit bogdim." Why, Hashem? Why do you just look at those who rebel? Tachrish bevel Rasha tzaddik mimenu, and you're silent when the Rasha swallows up someone who's a greater tzaddik than him. Ask the Gemara, "V'chi Rasha boleya tzaddik." Does a Rasha swallow up a tzaddik? V'aksiv. We have another pasuk. It says, "Hashem lo ya'azvenu biyado." Hashem will not abandon the tzaddik into the Rasha's hands. Uksiv, and else says, "Lo yi'una l'tzaddik kolavon." No iniquity will befall a tzaddik. Bad things won't befall a tzaddik. So, which one is it? Does the Rasha swallow up the tzaddik, or do we say that Hashem will not abandon the tzaddik and no iniquity, nothing bad will befall the tzaddik? Ela tzaddik mimenu boleya. Here's the difference. If he's tzaddik mimenu, if he's more righteous than the Rasha, but he's not a tzaddik gamor, he's not completely righteous, then the Rasha can swallow him up. But tzaddik gamor, but if he's a complete tzaddik, eino boleya, he won't swallow him up. So that's how you reconcile this second contradiction. The Rasha swallows up a tzaddik mimenu, someone who's more tzaddik than him, but is not completely tzaddik. But When we say Hashem doesn't abandon the tzaddik, that's talking about a tzaddik gamor. And we can use the same thing to answer when you fight a rasha. If you're a tzaddik gamor, then you can fight a rasha even if things are going well for him. And but if you're not a tzaddik gamor, then you can't fight a rasha if things are going well for him. V'bayisema, or alternatively, we could say that no, sham misachekes lo shani. No, we could just go back to our previous answer for this second contradiction as well. The second contradiction is, on the one hand, it says that tzaddik swallows up the rasha swallows up the tzaddik. On the other hand, it says that tzaddik is not abandoned. Well, maybe it just depends on how it's going for the rasha. If the rasha has things going well, then he can swallow up a tzaddik. And but if not, then the tzaddik is safe. Okay. And Rabbi Yochanan said in Rishon ben Yochai another statement. Klakoveya makom letfilaso, oivav noflim liftachtav. Anybody who sets a set place to daven, his enemies fall under him. Shenemar, as it says in Shmuel, it says, V'samti makom le'ami le'Yisrael. I gave a place for my nation, Israel, unetativ, and I planted him, V'shachan tachtav, and I dwelled under him, V'lo yirgaz, od, V'yosifu b'nei av lo anoso. And there will no longer be rogas, anger from other nations, and actually this is a future, this is in the future. I will make a place for my nation Israel, and I will plant them, and I will dwell under them, and there will the nations won't be angry with them anymore. And they won't continue to afflict them as they did originally. And this is when a place is established. I think for the Beis Hamikdash, speaking about the future Beis Hamikdash. And so you see that when you have a set place, makom, then for tefillah you protect it. And here it's talking about the Beis Hamikdash. Seemingly that's a more powerful set place. The Gemara is focusing on the importance of the samti makom. I'll make a place. And that if you make a place, that is significant. Setting a place is significant on its own. Now, Rav Huna Rami. Rav Huna has the contradiction. Ksiv la'ano so. It says here that they will not afflict us at all. Uksiv, but on the other hand, in Divrei Yamim, it recounts the same tefillah, or the same statement, and it says there, instead of saying they will not afflict, it says either lechalo so or levalo so, to destroy them or to swallow them up. So which one is it? I won't allow them to afflict you, or I won't allow them to destroy you. So answers the Gemara, b'tchila la'anoso v'sof l'chaloso. What it means is that at the beginning the promise was, I won't allow them to afflict you. But once the Jewish people sinned, and the Beis Hamikdash had to be destroyed, so then they had to be afflicted. But even after that, the promise remains that Hashem won't allow them to be destroyed. V'am Rabbi Yochanan ben Yochai, and Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rishon ben Yochai, Gedola shimusha shatar yoser milimuda. The shimush, the assistance that a student gives to his Rebbe is greater, the serving that a student does to his Rebbe is greater than the learning he does from his Rebbe. Shenemar, as it says, Po Elisha ben Shafat asher yatzak ma'im al yadei Eliyahu. So this is the pasuk in Malachim Beis. Yoshafat, the king Yoshafat is looking for a navi, and somebody says, "Oh, here's Elisha." And what's Elisha's resume? It doesn't say that he learned Torah from Eliyahu. Doesn't say, right? It says Lamad lo nemar. It doesn't say who learned from Eliyahu. Ella yatzak. It says who poured hands on Eliyahu. What you see is that serving Talmidei Chachamim is of greater merit, puts you in greater status than learning from a Talmid Chacham, and that's why the resume, the description of Elisha is the one who served Eliyahu Hanavi. Okay, we will pick up from here next time.